Okay, Elisa, if you agree, we can start.
Yes, Sandro?
So, welcome to everyone. Thanks for participating to this opening session of our IFSAM 2024 Congress. I'm very happy to introduce my colleagues. I start with Elisa. Elisa, as you know, Elisa Martinelli, she's the person in charge of the Secretariat. So we thank you, Elisa, for all the wonderful job is doing as General Secretary, but also for contributing to this session on the opening words that we are planning. With Elisa, we have also Rosa Martina Schena. Rosa Martina is the person in charge of the process to create the strategic plan of IFSAM. And it will be our pleasure to share with you the results that we had by this process involving many stakeholders and many colleagues to build the blocks of the future plan, strategic plan of IFSAM for the next years. Then I want to heartily thanks, obviously, Elisa and Rosa Martina for their participation, and introduce also the president-elect of IFSAM, Professor Nick Beach. He's in charge of the 2 years, is acting as a president-elect, and in the future, from the starting with the next year, will be the president of IFSAM. So it's the best person to talk about the future of IFSAM, also sharing with you the future challenges and we can say actions and activities we could do as federation. And last but not least, Martin Spring. Martin Spring is our vice president for the events and is the person organizing, drawing, defining, and organizing all the Congress. And all of you, all of us, we are very grateful to Martin for the big efforts with all the team of the Congress, for the Congress planning for the Congress. It was a very, very hard challenge because a very hard job because, as you can imagine, to put together so many speakers, roundtables with great and very interesting topics. And Martin, at the end of this opening session, will illustrate very briefly the next roundtables and the next appointments for the next days. So thank you, Martin. Thank you to everyone. And I have to thank also all the board of IFSAM, because the board was very supportive. We meet once a month, so we meet very frequently, and we are going ahead with many activities, not only the Congress, but also many activities on the soft policies activities, such as now we are producing statements on research, on practice, on education, and we have 3 vice presidents and 3 teams working on these topics. We are working a lot also on the awards, so we have 5 awards with nomination. That is very, very important awards, and I have to thank all the team working on this side. We have a presidential platform with meetings, talking with all the presidents and the representatives of our members about the different challenges we are facing as single associations. And we have many other activities to manage the governance, the new members, the treasury. So it's a big team working also on communication, social networks, and so on, meeting once a month with a lot of activities going on. And I want to thank also the General Assembly, all our reps of our 28 members, members associations. They are very active and they sustain all our activities, approving, discussing, and approving all the proposal of the board. And we have also a very active and very useful for our activity advisory council. And I want to thank also the president of the advisory council and the secretary and all the members on the advisory council, giving us a lot of nice insights and nice advices to perform better and better. So I'm very grateful, and I heartily thank all the colleagues, and also I want to thank Eleonora Di Piacenza, all the staff now working on the technical side of IFSAM and on this also on this Congress. And I want to just introduce very briefly the next, now we can say, speaker. And was planned also to have Xavier Castañer as past president, but I received just a few minutes ago a message, and is not at this moment able to join us. But I want to thank a lot also Xavier, because if we are here, Xavier, the activities done by Xavier as a leader of this federation was very, very important, such as all the previous past presidents. But we have here the next president, the president-elect, Nick Beach, and I leave the floor to you, Nick, to introduce your thoughts about the future challenges of our federation.
Thank you, Sandro. Absolute delight to be here, and thank you to a joy to be able to follow you. I'm sorry that Xavier couldn't join today, but in a sense, you know, I think the future is really an extension of the past and the present. And Sandro and Xavier have done wonderful work over the last few years, but it is very collaborative work, and I'll come on to that in a second. One of the things that in Xavier's time that was championed was to think about the Federation really as a sort of UN-like body, and that's one of the phrases that was used quite frequently. And Xavier led a process of trying to expand the Federation, and Sandro has very successfully extended that, so we now have more members and more effective members, and we've, I think, now got a far more organized range of activities. Rosa Martina and Elisa will talk more about these in a moment or two. But to be honest, I think if you go back into the more distant past of IFSAM, you know, where we've got to is really rather remarkable. I can remember, you know, over 20 years ago, conversations that were nothing like where we are at the moment. And I think it's easy for those of us who joined more recently not to pay due credit for all of that. So Sandro, you thanked everybody else, but I want to say a very public thank you to you, and indeed to all of the other board members involved. So, excuse me. If you look then at our mission and our vision, in essence, the idea of federation has community at its heart. And really importantly for us, community is something that is not hierarchical and is an approach that is based on inquiry, learning, and research. So in other words, we need to walk the talk, to do what we believe others should be doing. And I think there's a nice example of that is this Congress, because if you look at the series of roundtables and key areas that are coming up, in fact, you can see a huge form of connectivity going on amongst those. And so the purpose of higher education now and in the future, and this is clearly changing considerably around the world, it's changing in a few ways. One, that there is increasing globalization, and I think we see that as being a really good thing, so that students and staff are increasingly connected. And in fact, the subject areas that we address in business and management are also increasingly international. That's not to say they are singular, and in fact, there's good work going on here on decolonization and challenging some of those imperialistic assumptions. So it's not the same, but it is trying to learn from and with each other, and particularly learning from our differences. And I think that's something that has always been a strength in IFSAM and something that we would like to put real emphasis on in the future. And secondly, that education doesn't exist as a separate thing in and of itself. Increasingly, the term ecosystem is being used, and I think there are some advantages to that. The thing that I wouldn't choose that phrase myself, because of course we are more than simply biological beings. We are more than evolving. We are purposeful, we are meaning making, and we have agency. And so I think it's important to lay emphasis on all of those things. But we are intrinsically connected to the societies of which we are part. And business and management has always been like that as a discipline and a subject area. And so, for example, the focus that we have had on the UN sustainability goals, I think is exactly right and something that we should continue into the future. There are some of those goals that are very clearly directly relevant to us: quality education, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and responsible consumption and production would be four of the ones that are just in our heartland. And if we are not in the middle of those and contributing to the many other disciplines that work in that area, then we are missing the real trick of what we could be doing. But if you look at all of the other goals, pretty much all of them, business and management has a role in. So we think about gender equality and equity more generally, good health, removing poverty, all of these things, aspects of our work contributes to and learns from. And so I think particularly in the policy work we do, and indeed in the research that we encourage, I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to work collaboratively with each other and also with other disciplines. When we look at new orientations to research, IFSAM has always championed both blue sky thinking and impactful, relevant work. And one of the things that we have always challenged is that kind of binary way of thinking. So that if it's highly rigorous, it can't be relevant. If it's relevant, it can't be highly rigorous. We have always challenged that. And one of the brilliant thing that Sandro and his colleagues have done this year is to relaunch a journal that's based within our membership that focuses on bringing relevance and rigor together in making research digestible and usable for practice and indeed for people from different disciplines. So I think that is a really important thing for us to carry on. And lastly, Indigenous management and decolonization, a crucial area of, I think, elevating the quality of our work by paying real attention to equality. There are some in the past who have argued that equalization or equity can detract from quality. I would argue the opposite. I think our work is always improved by looking at our differences and our diversity and learning from them, and that runs through IFSAM's core. So in a sense, what I'm doing is telling a story of continuity. Sandro talked a little bit about the challenges, and I think they're still there. There are massive political challenges that we face at the moment. There are conflicts around the world, there is poverty, there is deprivation around the world, and in all of our places. There are still differences between the continents, and I think IFSAM has been brilliant at joining us up across those continents. And even within our subject area, quite often there's a degree of hierarchy between practice, education, and research. And IFSAM has always championed the drawing together of those things. So you may or may not be relieved to know that I'm certainly, for my own thinking, I'm not thinking revolution. Let's change this altogether. And instead of being the International Federation of Scholars Associations of Management, let's change and become chemistry, or let's change and become not international, whatever. I actually think our opportunities here, and Elisa and Rosa Martina will say much more about this in a minute, are ones of emphasis, of amplification, and choosing the right sort of focus. The thing that they have done, I think, is to do a brilliant piece of consultation. So they have gone around, they've talked to many people. The voice that they have given has been really crucial. And I have to say, it was a joy to sit on the sidelines and watch some strategy professionals go about their work in what was a truly wonderful way. And I think what's come out is absolutely wonderful. So I will hand over to them in a second. But just before I do, I also wanted to say a word of thanks to Martin and his great team for the work that they've done pulling all of this together. I think it's really exciting. I think we're having the right conversations, and I think we're having them in the right way. So it's not just the topic, it's about the ethos and the ethics of the way that we work together that underline all this. And my last word before I hand over is, I think IFSAM has always been a place where a bit of joy, a bit of fun, a bit of happiness was not just allowed, but was encouraged. And there are plenty of things for us to be downhearted about in the world at the moment. There's, I spend my life wandering through a lot of different disciplines. And, there's plenty of misery around, okay? This is our opportunity to uplift each other and to be positive about the future and to do so on a collective basis. So I hope that isn't out of line with what you are thinking for the future of IFSAM. But at this point, I'll pass over to Rosa Martina. I think you're going first. So I'll pass over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you so much. As Nick said, we would like to tell you about our strategic planning process that we started many months ago and involved us for a lot. It has been a big effort undergoing in reality, but we would like to share with you the current situation and the purpose that is leading us in this big effort. So the idea is today to present you the next one, Martina.
Yes, for sure.
To explain to you the process and that help us in identifying our stakeholders and bring us also to define our organizational chart. IFSAM is an international federation with a long history, but you can remember that we went through an important process in order to better structure our federation in order to respond to the needs and wishes of our member association and becoming able in a more efficient and effective way to serve our community and our society as a whole. And this, of course, has required us to structure our federation as its best. So this process has also brought us to define our organizational chart. And at this point, I will give the floor to Rosa Martina in order to go in detail, of course, depending on the time that we have to give you the idea of the work that is behind and the result that we have obtained regarding our strategic plan. And so she will tell you about the benchmark analysis that she has done performed and the interviews that the team in charge of the strategic plan did. In particular, this is important to bring us to understand the future challenges that the Federation would like to face and the priority coming out from the process of the interview that we have done. Then she will explain to you the IFSAM impact report. So first of all, I would like to tell you about the process and the different steps that are involved in our strategic planning and the step that we have performed till now. So first of all, of course, there is a cognitive step that is related to the analysis of the situation and in order to map our stakeholder and perform the benchmark analysis. Then, of course, this is the basis in order to decide on the basis of the results of the different steps that you see here. We will decide the strategy, and of course this includes planning, the execution phase, but also a monitoring one that is bringing us to a future reporting phase. The possible stakeholders that we have identified are a number. First of all, our member association that are the primary stakeholder of IFSAM, representing academic association and society that are working in the field of management all around the world. But of course, our aim is to involve and make an impact on many different sides that are related to research, to the possibility to arrange and manage conferences, an impact at the institutional level, but of course also education and the society as a whole. So the societal impact is for us very important. So these are all the stakeholders that we traced and the one that we would like to get in contact with and involved with the activity that IFSAM is and will plan and manage in the future. One of the first results of our strategic planning process was the organizational chart of our federation in order to have the right structure to achieve the purposes that we would like to reach. Of course, our member association are our heart. The reason why IFSAM is here and performs its role. Our member association have reps into the most important body of our federation, that is our General Assembly, in which also the directors that are the member of the board of directors are sitting together with potential observers. The General Assembly works through committees. We have a strategy, awards, event, research, practice, and education committee. And the work of the General Assembly is supported by our advisory council member, in which the chair, the secretary, some advisor that we thank for their work are giving us suggestions in order to run better our work. The other very important body, the board of directors, in which the president, past president, president-elect are present, our treasurer, me as Secretary General, and all the VPs related to the soft policies. Our VPs are supported by deputies and ambassador, and of course, our secretariat is at the disposal of our member association and all the bodies of our association in order to deal with the daily management of the association. And I would like to thank my deputies, Eleonora and Hing, and our webmaster, Leonora Piacenza, for being so good and supporting all the effort of our federation. I will leave the floor to Rosa Martina to go further and explain the strategic planning process. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa, and thank you, Nick, too, for the presentation and insightful discussion. As a part of the anatomy of a strategic plan, we also conduct both benchmark analysis and stakeholder interviews. Regarding the benchmark strategies and the benchmark analysis, we follow basically 5 steps. And starting from an online investigation, we track all the international federation involved in activities as IFSAM, of course. And then, thanks to a series of screening process and methods, we identify finally 11 comparable associations. Thanks to the final step, that is the inspection, the so-called inspection step, we investigated basically the aim of this comparable association, the activities, and also the program and the services offered by the federation to the member association. We investigated also the presence online, so the social presence of this comparable association, the commitment and the alignment with the sustainable development goals, but also we try to investigate the other kind of documentation present online, document present online, in order to better investigate, for example, the governance structure of this kind of comparable association. Well, starting from the beginning, when we thought about the strategic plan, we thought about a participatory process with the engagement, with involvement of our stakeholder and for our stakeholder, of course. So we conduct a series of interviews with both internal and external stakeholders in order to identify their need, their expectation, of course, the priority in which then IFSAM needed to focus. In fact, the main outcome of these efforts and this hard work is the list of 5 priorities that we have identified. The first priority is sharing best practice among member associations in order to reinforce the mutual learning, drive innovation, and create an overall impact in our community. The second priority is engaging with the soft policies in order to be a guide for the member association, but also for all the association involved in management community. The third priority is establishing international benchmarks in order to be a guide, a framework for all the member association involved in the management topic, expanding membership, because we want, of course, to grow, to reinforce our impact at global level. And the final priority, the last priority, is engaging early career scholars to care to the next generation of the global management community. It is a really important point for the future of our community and for the future of the federation, of course. For each of these priority, we identify a coordinator to be lead of all the activities, and we also identify both qualitative and quantitative KPI within an action plan template in order to be able to track our progress. This is because our final aim and our main aim is to be able to discuss, to present the first IFSAM impact report in order to summarize the efforts of this month, but also to create a framework for our community and to create a more global impact in our community. In this slide, we try to highlight, to summarize the main content of the agenda that we want to better explore in the next month in order to be ready to draft the IFSAM impact report. And so the chapter that we thought about are basically 7. So the letter to our stakeholders, the commitment of the Federation toward the sustainability and the innovation system, the methodological note in order to be able to explain all the steps that we follow, and also to be able to inspire also the other member association. Then we want to highlight, to summarize all the IFSAM activities and who is our federation. The materiality chapter will be more really important in order to be able to evaluate what is matter for our stakeholder, and of course to be able to track our progress. And the last 2 chapters want to investigate our global impact in terms of innovation, sustainability, social impact, and also economic value distribution. It was really a pleasure to me, and would like to take this opportunity to thank all the people involved in this year, in this project. Of course, Elisa constantly support me in this project. Of course, Professor Sandro Castaldo, our president, but also Patrick and Matteo, Ying and Felicity support us during the conduction of the interviews. And so this is the end of our presentation, and I'm really proud about all the efforts that we provide for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa Martina. Great activity. We think together as IFSAM that this plan will be a benchmark for the future, and I know that there are some our member associations that are interested in doing the same activity at the local level, so you could support them in doing a similar activity. We did in the past also a similar exercise at SIMA, Italian Society of Management, thanks to Rosa Martina and her team, and probably doing similar activities also in other member associations could be something useful. Also because every year here we have a sort of report of the efforts and the direction and the results we have had during the previous year. Thanks again, Rosa Martina, and also Elisa and all the team working on this very crucial activity. I leave the floor now to Martin. I don't know if Martin, Martin, sorry, I could see you. So if you can give us, before closing, a very short overview of the program of the next appointments for our 2024 Congress. Please, Martin.
Thank you, Sandro. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Yeah, it's been an exciting process of putting the Congress together, and Nick's already touched on some of the themes we'll be exploring. We set out to try and combine where we could the themes of practice, education and research, and to address some of the big questions that are facing us. It seemed we couldn't ignore massive global topics like the climate emergency and the pressures that we're all under in higher education institutions and the way they affect us. So that was the theme of our planning for the Congress. The Congress, and I've been involved now for 3 or 4 years, is not just a place where I think we report what we already thought about, but also a place where thinking happens on the hoof in real time. And it's also been mentioned that we develop the soft policy in the areas of research, education and practice. And I think there's a kind of a symbiotic relationship between the policy development and the Congress. The policy informs our Congress, and then the Congress hopefully feeds back into policy development. And so we go on, and hopefully it provides interest and useful resources and frameworks for thinking for member associations and indeed individuals out there working in business and management, higher education. And so that's reflected in the topics we have and the formats we've adopted. We've learned from the last Congress that the roundtables have been popular and effective vehicles for doing what we want to do and what we hope is useful to you. We've got 4 roundtables this time, and these cover the 4 topics that Nick mentioned briefly. I'll mention them again in a little bit more detail. The first one is about the changing form, and I've put the Congress timetable in the chat, so you can refer to that if you want to. Really addressing the changing form, economics, politics, and structures and forms of higher education institutions and business schools, as we see more unconventional new forms of higher education institution, online learning, given a boost by COVID probably, and new pressures, financial and so on. My own university is counting its pennies as we speak, to try and weather the financial storm as student numbers are under pressure, for example. So that's the focus of the first roundtable, and that takes place at 4 p.m. European time today. And that's led by Sergio Wanderley. Then we have 2 roundtables tomorrow. The second addresses the relationship between the UN Sustainable Development Goals and our work in business and management. And increasingly, but in varying ways and to varying degrees, business schools are adopting, using, translating the UN Sustainable Development Goals to really inform our purpose. And so that panel discussion will explore that from the point of view of practice, research, the implications for academic careers, trying to combine impactful research with the usual requirements of scholarship and promotion and publishing in top journals and so on. So that's a conversation that we're looking forward to having to explore those tensions and opportunities. The third roundtable, again, is tomorrow at 1400 European time, is also the launch of a new IFSAM venture, the IFSAM Futures Academy, and it's by and for, although not exclusively, early career researchers in business and management. So it, again, is really exploring those pressures on early career researchers and really exploring what IFSAM can be for that generation. But of course, it's of relevance and interest to everyone, even the old folk like me. And the final roundtable is on the topic Nick mentioned earlier, the Indigenous management and decolonisation of the curriculum. And that's a team from, it's appropriately enough, around the world who are expert scholars in this area and have been working together on this for a while. So I think there's, although I guess initially I thought, well, that may be more relevant in some contexts than others. I think there's something for everyone in that topic, wherever we are, whatever we do. So those are our 4 roundtables. We also have the awards session. That's on Friday on the 27th at 11:30 European time. And that's reflecting the efforts of 3 of our IFSAM award winners in these kinds of areas. So societally relevant research, Indigenous research, and a more general award for contribution to our discipline. So that's conversations with those award winners and an opportunity to recognise their work as well as hear something about it. And then we close at 14:30 on Friday, and I will be attempting during the other sessions to compile a brief summary of everything we do and to come up with a few key insights from the 3 days of activity. Before I go, I'd like to thank my colleagues on the events committee, Juliana Bonamy Santos, Robert Demir and Melanie Bryant, who are all deputy VPs for events, and have been, as we all do, doing this in their spare time, as it were, to pull the conference together. And the events committee, who've provided their input into what we do, how we do it, and between us, we've hopefully produced an interesting product, one which is, of course, aimed at our member associations as the primary audience, but also at leaders of research in business schools, associate deans, anybody who's interested in what we're talking about. So it's not too late. I don't think people can still register, spread the word, invite your friends to hear about these particular topics which may be of relevance to them. I'll stop there. Thank you for joining and hope to see more of you over the next 3 days, and looking forward to hearing the discussions and learning more in the IFSAM community. Okay, thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, Martin. I reinforce your invitation to join the next sessions. So please, you have in the chat the link to the program. We should try to spread our the link to colleagues, friends through the our member associations. In the same chat, you will find some information that could be useful related to the presidential platform meetings, and also about the award, because we have the deadline for nomination next November 1st. So please consider also this opportunity to find good candidates for these awards that are very relevant, and also, in my view, very well managed and selected. And also in terms of communication, it is a nice way to share the knowledge of the awarded people also during this conference. Obviously, this was for the awards of the beginning of this year. I want just to close this opening session with one thought and some thanks. The thought is about the future. Nick introduced the future challenges. Elisa and Rosa Martina, the plan about the future activities, step by step, with an action plan. Personally, I believe that the future scenario is the output of our efforts. So if we put the right color of the balls in the pot in the future, we will have high probability to have the right scenario and the right and to extract the right color. So what we have to do is to put our values about research, about education, that is very important for our activity, and also the impact for practice. And we have to act as IFSAM, but also as single person and also a single association to create the right environment with the right values. And I'm sure that if everyone will do this activity, also obviously having IFSAM as umbrella, I think that in the future we will have a better future for our academies and for our associations, and also for our society, because the impact of our job is in terms of research, education, and practice is a very important impact and really relevant for the future generation. And as you have seen in our plan, next generation and future academies are very important goals, a very important topic. We will discuss in one of the roundtable this activity because the early careers colleagues are our future, and probably it's a good idea to have them and to ask them to join IFSAM at the beginning of their career, because they can benefit of IFSAM and international connection and the values of IFSAM from the beginning of their career. And for this reason, I want to thank all of you, obviously the speakers, for their contribution, and the organization, but also all the participants. We are not so many, so I want to nominate one by one. I remember Xavier had this kind of approach, but I'm not Xavier. Xavier is much better in terms of, but I want to thank, I have my video, so I use Sergio. Thanks a lot for participating and for all the activity. Hing, thank you for everything you are doing. And also, last but not least, the great JABA event. Thanks, Arabella, for the support, and also all the activity you are doing as CIMA president and the reps, and before CIMA president, secretary of IFSAM. Eleonora, thank you for all the activity as deputy SG. Greg, thank you. Thanks a lot for all support. Ginevra is a very young colleague from CIMA, next generation. Thanks a lot. Wei-Yu, thanks, Robert. We thank you. Koji from Java, thanks a lot. Andrea from CIMA. Michele from CIMA too, thanks a lot. Natalia, Alice, thanks. Vinolia and Felicity, thanks a lot. Felicity also for all the activity you are doing as secretary of our advisory council. So I want to thanks a lot everyone for the participation, and please, as Martin told, try to spread out the invitation to have more and more participants in the next roundtables. Thanks a lot.
Hope to see 1 hour in the session.
Okay. Thanks, Lara. Sorry for not nominating you, but was Lara from CIMA, the secretary, and also the rep of CIMA in our assembly.